everyone, thank you so much for joining me here today. If you're new, I'm Amanda. Welcome to the channel where we are all about shattering the mental health stigma. If you haven't already, make sure you make sweet love to that subscribe button so you're not missing any of these interviews, any of my reactions, or any of my vlogs about my mental health journey. But today, I have a special guest. He's been on the channel before, but this time I get to meet him, hang out with him, and we get to learn even more about his mental health journey. Bob Thornton. I am here at Knuckleheads in Kansas City, Missouri. I am so excited to be about to see the Boxmasters live. I have listened to all their stuff, finally get to see them live. I am here with JD and Bud. We are about to have a little chat. So I am really excited because it has been such a heavy year, such a heavy past year. And I think that the Boxmasters just bring such a fun energy that we all need right now. How do you guys get into that energy before going on stage? How do you step out of this
alcohol.
into that energy?
Alcohol and a nap.
And a nap.
Yeah, that's right.
I definitely always need to sleep.
You know, I mean, we're talking about like a beer or, a drink. It's like some people, have the idea that rock stars are out there, chugging bottles of, Jack Daniels or, stuff like that. And if we did that, we wouldn't be able to play more than one night in a row, because then we'd be laying out or going to the hospital and, being hooked up to tubes and stuff. So when we're talking about alcohol, it's like one little drink to kind of, take the edge off and, allow us to be free in front of the audience. But here at Knuckleheads, I mean, you get so much energy from the crowd right away the second you hit the stage that you really don't need any extra motivation to get out there.
Well, you know how in every venue, like the band always says, "How's everybody in Cleveland?" or whatever. It's like, we love this place, we love you guys. Well, at Knuckleheads, it actually is our favorite place to play. And so when we tell them that, we're not joking. Every year we play Knuckleheads, and it's truly one of our favorite, our favorite place really to play. They know us so well that this morning, the kitchen people said, "What time do you want your guacamole?"
Oh my gosh. A fellow guacamole lover.
Oh,
so
is that the vegetarian burger?
I actually eat guacamole with a spoon right out of the bowl. I don't even use chips on it. I just eat it.
I love avocado so much. I'm such an avocado addict.
I could eat 30 avocados a day. And sometimes I eat up to 2.
For me, the pandemic was just such a train wreck. I mean, number one, we didn't have any concerts, so just being back in that scene and back in that energy is amazing. But I think people that never had anxiety, never had any of that before, started experiencing that. And for those of us who had it, it amped it through the roof. What was your low point of the pandemic, and how did you get through it?
Well, Zoloft.
You're not the next that.
I'd like to recommend Zoloft, or the generic name, Sertraline. It's a miracle in a pill.
You're not the only person that said that. I've known quite a few people who had to get on antidepressants during this time, and no shame in that if that's what you need.
You know what's funny about that? Now that you say that, we've had an opioid crisis in this country for a long time now, and it actually got worse during the pandemic, and like suicides were up and all this kind of stuff, and there was a lot of stuff kind of ignored during the pandemic, that we should have been paying attention to.
Well, I mean, talking about the suicides, I lost one of my best friends who, this is the first time we played Knuckleheads where he isn't here, and I thought about it all day, and it's really difficult to accept that I lost a really good friend who took his life because he got COVID and was felt horrible, and then just everything else that was going on, he didn't find another way out, and we were in the studio recording one of our new records that will be out next year, and I got the call about it, and it's like you run through every emotion you possibly can when that happens. So.
I think that's the pandemic in the pandemic right now. It's just all of the depression and the addiction, and like you were saying, the opioid crisis is through the roof, the suicide is through the roof. What was your low point of the pandemic?
Well, mine was more like, personally, I have more of an agoraphobic tendency. So for me, being able to stay home for a year and a half was pretty good. But the other thing is that, I mean, for me and JD, we have kids, you know, we're family guys, and we were able to be with our family way more than we normally are, which was great. But, you know, I think for me that the low points were times when I heard things like, you know, JD's friend, who I also knew, I mean, I know it through JD, and like you said, JD got the call when we were in the studio trying to make a record, and it was just, you know, it's devastating. And he knows that I've gone through that too, and every now and then I've told JD, oh no, I just got the call. You know, and we lost Dusty Hill. He was one of my closest friends from ZZ Top, just a couple of weeks ago.
There's a lot of people that we lost.
Yeah.
John Prine was the first person that I knew personally who died from COVID. And so, you know, the low points were more about what happened to other people rather than me. But as you know, I have anxiety disorder. And that's the thing we have in common. And
that and our love for guacamole and avocados.
absolutely. And so my anxiety level was really, honestly, during the pandemic, wasn't as high as it normally is because I was at home most of the time. I get more anxiety when I go outside the house. So, but there was a lot of sadness because of the people that we lost. You know? And so those would have had to have been the low points. You know, the good part of it is that JD and I were still able to go into the studio and work during the pandemic because we were sort of in our own bubble.
Yeah.
And we would go to A&M and record a lot, and we made 3 albums during the lockdown. And so, you know, well, I mean, they still call it the pandemic, but it hasn't been a pandemic for a while. This pandemic technically is not what's happening now, but that's when the hospitals are all overrun and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully we won't get to that point again, but one way or the other, yeah, my anxiety is just pretty much free floating, as they say. I could get it right now, or an hour from now, or, you know, I had it yesterday. Yeah, I think now I am happy to see people again, honestly. And I, you know, do stuff every day to overcome mine. And, you know, I meditate and stretch every morning and stuff like that, just trying to get through it.
I'm curious if you've ever had a panic attack either while filming or while performing with the Boxmasters, and how you got through that if you've had it in the middle of a performance.
I've never had a panic attack during a performance that I can remember, but my panic attacks actually occur in the morning, early morning.
I remember we were saying that before. Mine are at night. Mine are in the middle of the night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've had them at night, but predominantly in the mornings. And after I quit drinking coffee, I quit caffeine altogether.
I had to.
Once I quit that, my panic attacks got way better.
Yeah.
And they're very few and far between now. And you know, there are things that you can do. I think the main thing that helped, I mean, aside from not drinking the coffee, is when you tell yourself, when you know it's a panic attack, if you say, it's a panic attack, I know it's running out of control right now, but it's going to be over. It's going to be over in a few minutes, or an hour, or whatever it is. And so that's how I do it, is I just sit there trying to settle myself, and I'll put the television on and just watch something and just let it happen. If you fight it, it gets worse.
It gets worse, yeah. I set a timer, actually, because it usually will take about 10 minutes to ride through, and if you can get through that 10 minutes, then the worst of it is over. Do you have anxiety or panic or anything like that?
I have anxiety, but I don't have panic attacks, really. I've had work situations where I had, you know, basically it was just a full-on mental wreck, but I don't know that I've had a proper panic attack.
He doesn't have panic attacks, he has nervous breakdowns.
that was.
I've been there too.
Yeah, that's essentially when you boil it down.
What did you do to
But,
get through that time? Those times?
That time I had to quit the job and get on medication. So, and it helped. And then I didn't work for about a year. And luckily I met Billy and we started working together. And for the most part, work stress hasn't really been, a thing for me. So,
He met me and he goes, "Like, this guy's a wreck," so I feel pretty good.
I've actually had friends like that where you're going, okay, my life is not so bad. That's also okay.
yeah, no, it's, things have been pretty good for a while. But, still, at the start of the pandemic, when everything shut down, mine was, I think, just like all of a sudden we had all 5 of us in the house all the time trying to all work and do school at the same time and not get any, like trying to figure out how to all be in the house at the same time. And it was just like, I couldn't quite pull it together for, managing all of that action at the same time. And, it's like trying to entertain the kids that are not in school at that point or whatever it was. It was just a lot of trying to figure stuff out. It's just like this chest was tightening up and just like this like ball of stress right there. And it's like, I gotta do something. So,
And I love
so we get through it.
Yeah. I love how, sometimes you need medication, sometimes it's meditation, whatever you need to get through. That's my theory, is whatever you need to be okay. Within reason, keeping yourself healthy, not doing anything destructive, whatever you need to be okay. And it's different for every person. And I don't think
exactly. But, at the same time, sometimes you have to go through it and accept that you need medication, because a lot of people don't, they just won't, they're like, well, no, I don't need medicine.
I'm not depressed.
Yeah. And it's like, well, it would take the edge off and you feel better if you just accept that maybe you need that kind of help.
Yeah. It's really different. I'm curious what the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you on stage or while filming.
I don't know, I can't think of anything like mortifying that's happened on stage before. I did a funny thing the other night. I can't remember where we were. We were playing a theater somewhere, and I was talking about how you see these YouTube videos of performers who fall down on stage. Because, they have them all the time. You can look on YouTube, you'll see whoever it is, some pop singer falls down or falls off the stage. And I was talking about how it's like, I'm in my 60s. I never fell down on stage. These people are 25. Why are they falling down on stage? And I said, just once, I want to fall down on stage. I said, by all rights, I should be able to fall down on stage. And so I came out before one song. I think it was a song where the guitar player takes a solo, and
No, you did it right before we did the quiet acoustic song.
Oh yeah, right before that.
And I kind of started the song, and you went.
Oh yeah, I walked across the stage and I purposely tripped myself, and I said, and the audience cheered, and it was pretty funny. It's like, finally.
Billy finally broke a leg on stage.
Exactly.
Yes. So one thing that was embarrassing, for us was at a show we had a band member who spent the whole day drinking alcohol, and by the time the show came, they couldn't remember the songs or the keys or what notes to play. And, that when you're getting up there, we're supposed to be a professional band. That means people play the right notes. And a bass player, if they mess the notes up, everyone hears it. It's not just one chord that's here. It's like they're out the whole song. It just made us look unprofessional, and I was embarrassed enough that we had to ask them to leave and not play with us anymore. So, that's beyond embarrassing. That just makes us look bad as an organization. So it's, we want to put the best foot forward and be as a professional, talented music group like we are. And so, we try to make sure we find folks that, are like-minded with us and,
And this was a new guy. He was a replacement guy. And he didn't understand the protocol, and the rules within our organization.
Don't get wasted.
We've heard, through other folks that, he's cleaned himself up and he's been part of the program, and he's really really turned the page on that chapter of his life. And, he's really, pulled things together, which is great to hear, because he's a very talented musician, and, you don't wish that on anybody, you want to help them, but sometimes you have to figure out what's best for you, the band at that moment. And at that moment, it just seemed like the best thing was to ask them to not play with us.
Or even really as individuals. I mean, there's been people that I've had removed from my life just because they went so far down that rabbit hole. It's until you're willing to get help, I can't be involved in that anymore. And that's hard.
People don't get better unless they want to get better.
Yeah,
that's for sure. And
sometimes they have to be forced to get better, or forced to at least look at.
They have to hit rock bottom some level.
And if you can make JD mad, you're doing something. And it made him mad enough to fire the guy. I wasn't even there. I was down the bus, but it was a very strange situation, and we've never had that before or since. And he was, like JD said, he's cleaned up now. We're really happy for him, but we don't have room for that. And we literally fired him. We had a show the next night, and so here you have no bass player, and we called a friend of ours because we were in the Nashville area at the time.
Lucky.
And we called a friend of ours. I woke him up and said, "Hey, bud, you want to come play bass with us? We're opening for ZZ Top tomorrow night in Montgomery, Alabama."
Oh, God.
And he'll literally learn the songs on the way down to the gig. And we opened for ZZ Top, 2 shows in a row with ZZ Top. And he came in, and to his credit, he was amazing. He came in and took over. And
the luckiest thing we had was that it was an opening slot, and there was only, half of the set, that we would normally play. So he didn't have to learn everything immediately the first night. But, it's sometimes you call the right people, and, they really step up. And Dave Fowler is one of those guys.
Thank you, Dave.
Exactly.
What is the absolute worst advice you have ever either gotten or received? Gotten or given. Sorry, gotten or given. I've gotten I swear.
I'm sure I've given the worst advice than I've ever gotten.
Well, let's see.
It's like
6 times.
Yeah. But it's like most of the advice we get these days, because we're not kids, but it's like, you guys really need to work on your social media plan, and work on,
algorithms.
Well, yeah, the stuff that
the analytics.
You're trying to think of the actual, the what is your
presence,
thing,
the image.
Yeah,
social media.
Basically,
the grid.
Well, just like the image of your band. How do you do that? And it's like, well, it's like we've had people do it before for us, and they didn't really do a ton. And so now that we're doing it ourselves, we've done a lot more for ourselves than anyone else has ever done. And, we're the only ones that actually knows what our image is. So if we're doing it ourselves, and we're posting this stuff, isn't that our image?
Well, that's what you think. So, they have these experts who do this stuff, and we're an eclectic kind of band, and we're an organic band, and so for us, social media goes against even who we are to start with, and we know we have to do it, and we don't mind doing it. We kind of enjoy the Instagram, and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's all we do.
But we just pretty much do Instagram, and we're not much of a part of like the social scene
Yeah.
to start with. And
Well, it's
so
not much
that's-
of a scene to be part of. It's kind of
Right.
toxic and
Oh, no.
so much negativity floating
Yeah,
around in
I
there.
don't understand that. I've never understood why, people like to put people down. I don't get it. It's not part of my bag. I know that. And I always try to see the best in anybody. And it's like I don't even put down music that's not my bag.
Right.
Because there's a
It's
place
art.
for it for everybody. I mean, there's some, like I've told people many times, it's like my daughter listens to pop radio, and it's not my deal. But if my daughter loves a Taylor Swift song, so do I, because if my daughter loves it,
It makes
you
her
know what I
happy.
mean? And so there's a place for every kind of music, and if you love it and it does something for you and it moves you, then that's great. And so I just don't get. I also don't get on social media when people start telling you what you ought to do, and tell you shouldn't have done this, or why did you do that, or you need to do this. And it's like, well, what do you do? I mean, you're sitting at your house telling people what to do, and you're not. You're in your bed for social media for kids and stuff like that, and for lonely people that need connections. I get it.
There's good to be had in
There's
it.
absolutely good, but it's like everything. It's like they say, guns don't kill people, people kill
Yeah.
people. And
It's not social media.
And it's like that. If you have something, use it for good instead of using it for bad. I mean, that's the idea behind it.
That. Alrighty, well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to have this conversation with us. It's good to finally meet both of you. I will link all of that down below so you can check out the Boxmasters and also see the